It was a fast switch from summer to really seemingly, summer to winter. Now, it was really kind of a gloomy, fun, foggy day, honestly, today. But it was a switch. It was cold, needed a jacket on, sweatshirt, layer up. And this weekend we are expecting some snow, some cold, freezing weather. So if you haven't blown out your sprinklers, I'm sure there's actually a decent availability of folks who can do that, because we always have a rule of thumb. October 1st is really when all sprinklers should be blown out by, but we had some kind of spillage and just had our sprinklers blown out a couple of weeks ago. But make sure your hoses are detached from your house, your furnace is on, and then maybe it's been serviced. People, if you're out of town, make sure you're not shutting off your thermostat, that you're keeping it at least about 65 degrees. Keep those pipes insulated. We do have a vacant listing that we turned off the water on the inside of the house, so that there's no possible break and then subsequent flooding of that property. But we are going to see some cold weather, possible snow. Interestingly enough, people ask me all the time, when can you expect your first snow? And I always said, my birthday is November 17th. I could assume it has snowed by then, and it's a coin flip on October 31st, Halloween, if we have seen snow or not. And there was an article in the Colorado that suggested that our average annual start of our snowfall is October 26th. 2020, we actually had our earliest snowfall of record of September 8th. That was definitely a bummer. But then, we could have it as late as we are seeing it this year, really closer to the 29th or 30th. But snow is coming. We are a 4-season time period. So this is live in Fort Collins. Appreciate you guys joining us. We talked to you guys about things that are happening, going to happen, things to do, city council meetings, and developments under review. Speaking of which, probably one of the most hotly contested developments is the sanctuary on the greens, on the northwest side of town, 41-acre parcel. It's gone from 400 units to 212 units now, and it goes against the sub area, went to the 8th Judicial Court, which we will talk about today in the city council work session, and it kicked it back to the city saying, hey, you needed to include the sub area in your analysis. And so it is back under review, and there is a neighborhood meeting November 2nd at 5:30 p.m., which I'm sure the groups that have been fighting that for so long will be there. Let's see here. Jumping into the next. In Windsor, it's interesting. There is a piece of land owned by the library district that King Soopers on the east side of Windsor is trying to purchase and then build a King Soopers. So the city of Windsor is trying to buy it from this group. And because they have agreements that they won't sell it to a private entity, so they can sell it to the public, which is Windsor, city of Windsor. And then the city of Windsor would then subsequently sell it to King Soopers to develop, because they believe that they're losing so much sales tax and like Severance and Windsor are losing sales tax to places like Fort Collins or Johnstown with Shields, and places that really they probably should start keeping that sales tax with how much population has been and growth has been on that east side of Windsor. So that's an interesting thing. I think they're pretty far apart. They offered $1.75 million, and the library came back, I think, and asked for $3.01 million plus 10% of the sales tax collected for the next 10 years. A pretty steep ask, but hey, I guess if it's wanted badly enough, they'll come to the table and see what happens. Northern Colorado Airport, the virtual tower seemingly is going to kind of fizzle out. It was very exciting, probably 5 or 6 years ago when it kind of first came to light that might be a possibility, but the FAA, CDOT, Loveland, Fort Collins, all of these different, basically groups are trying to come to the table, but ultimately the FAA is what's going to dictate what is allowable there. And it's not dead in the water, but a more traditional air tower might come to pass, but it's probably 3 to 5 years out, going to cost $15 million to build, but ultimately possibly would bring a long-term commercial airline to Northern Colorado. So we are still a ways out. I continue to get older, and that will continue to happen. I'm sure I can't just stop my age and time, but I'm 35. So maybe by the time I'm 40, kids are 10, commercial airline a year. So maybe by the time my kids are in junior high, we'll have a long-term commercial airline, because we live on the southeast side of town. It takes us 12 minutes. When we had Avelo, Allegiant, all of those, it was just such a great little quick getaway with a couple different areas that it would go to, and hopefully stabilize a long-term tenant. Now, again, we do have customs there now, so that international flights can fly directly into, or I think it's coming, I should say. It's been approved, it's coming. So international flights like Bohemian Foundation, Nutrients, Otterbox, lots of private individuals, Journey Homes can fly directly into Loveland Airport. And Martin Lind is a big proponent of that airport, big developer in Windsor, that Loveland area, the Budweiser Event Center, that area, the ranch. So lots of things that are happening, and hopefully that kind of gets sorted out sooner than later. Next week, I'm probably going to talk a little bit about Proposition HH and some other things politically that you can vote on as of November 7th. But ballots, if you're mailing them in, need to be sent in by October 30th to be received and counted. Otherwise, you're going to need to do in person or drop off your ballot. November 7th is the elections. There are a few taxes that are being proposed, statewide propositions, HH for property taxes, but also including Tabor, and your refunds and things of that nature. So I might go over that a little bit more, but if Proposition HH passes, Larimer County is considering some budget cuts, and because right now they're expecting without HH a 40% increase in revenue from the average property valuation increases this last property tax cycle. Let's see here. Lots of cool Halloween displays throughout Fort Collins. Just over on Southridge, there's a cool house that's got a lot going on. The Colorado has a really fun article. Just driving around town, some in Old Town, not a ton, but like some cool houses, cool displays. Check out that Colorado article if you'd like. I can link it in our notes section, and you can go check out some of those houses. Otherwise, there's a Halloween-themed candlelight tour of the Avery House. When I was going to St. Joe's, I went to St. Joe's all the way up until my 4th grade in Fort Collins, but we'd go and explore the Avery House as like a field trip, and it is a super, super cool house, intact. It's historically preserved, and they are going to have candlelight stories about how Halloween came to be. I do believe you have to sign up, $20 per person, and there's 4 time slots, and I believe it's going to be between 6 to 8 p.m. this Saturday. But you could also find yourself at the CSU game if you want to brave the weather. They're playing Air Force. Air Force is undefeated. So who knows, what Fort Collins City CSU does, but that starts out, kickoff is at 5 p.m. So bundle up, go support your Rams if you want to stay warm and go support that. One thing that was kind of cool is Horsetooth Reservoir Scenic Rock Climbing between September 9th and the 25th on every Friday and Saturday from 8 to 12 p.m. And it's $220 per person, but they'll take you rock climbing along the Horsetooth Reservoir. So might be something that if that's what you want to do, or that's you enjoy doing that and want a kind of a guided tour, that is an opportunity for you. Jumping into the city council work session, there was really 2 things that happened. The 8th Judicial Court, DA, had a review. They first posted their first annual report as of 2022, one of the only judicial systems that is doing that voluntarily. And they're doing that for transparency, provide data. And it was kind of interesting to see, cases filed, misdemeanors, felonies, and petty offenses. They are all trending down since 2017. Per quarter in Larimer County, 502 felony offenses in all of Larimer County, and 1,900 misdemeanors and 226 petty offenses. Now, here are the cases that are the percent of cases that are filed. So if you're curious what type of crime, and we do have a video coming out on our pre-recorded videos here in the next couple of weeks, I believe, about crime in Fort Collins. So we'll dive into an entire video, but high level: traffic, 25%, person crime, 18.4%, sex offense, 1.3%, property crime, about 17.9%, 18%, drugs, 9.78%, DUI, 13.08%, and other 13.61%. Violent crimes filed by quarter in Larimer County. The last one was 74. It's kind of a slow trend upward, but since 2017, where we were around 60 per quarter, and now we're at around 74. So over the last 6 years, 14, what is that? Divided by 12, so about 20% increase. It's not insignificant over the last 7 years. So so it was really interesting to see some of that data. It is all public information on Larimer County, larimer.org. So if you really want to go to dive into some of their stats, it is there and available, and they will report that on an annual basis. Some of the things that's interesting that they're looking at is, ethnicity and race, making sure that it's proportionate per population, and crimes and things of that nature, some kind of some check gaps and things of that nature, so that they are reporting it transparently, and that the city of Fort Collins can kind of have or Larimer County, I should say. Eth Judicial Court is essentially Larimer County, but they can have some checks and balances and making sure that they're, keeping held accountable, which is not a bad thing at all. Parking downtown Fort Collins. It's kind of led by two different master plans: the parking plan from 2013 and the downtown plan since 2017. Are kind of the two driving forces. But if you've been to Fort Collins, or if you're around Fort Collins, Northern Colorado, and you're there at night, which is where the strongest kind of population of vehicles and parking are taking place, you can see that people are kind of making their rounds, and they have this upside down structure. So the most valuable parking spots are the cheapest or free. You can have them for 2 hours between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. But after 6 p.m., you can park there overnight and make sure you get your car the next morning. And, those are extremely valuable parking spots. And the percentage of, vacancy is very minimal. But there are some reports that showed like the 200 block of Remington really actually always has vacancies as far as parking spots. But our least utilized parking is in our parking structure, where we actually drive and build revenue, which is important to know because we actually have these assets to maintain, and there's maintenance expenses that go along with it. And without the revenue to support the annual maintenance, these structures and assets can start to deteriorate. So there are conversations about how we are going to go about building revenue or implementing strategies to, maybe because right now one of the biggest revenue drivers for them is parking tickets. The first ticket, if you're downtown, is $0, but if the next one's $25, it gets like progressive up to $100, and it resets every year. I've been working downtown for a decade. I think I max out my $100 fines every year, which is probably about $175. So 150, 25. Probably after that, I don't have too much of an issue. But been very, blessed that I've had great parking downtown my entire career. That being said, it is a frustration. There's a lot of people coming to Fort Collins from out of state, out of city, and we want to provide this really great experience for them because downtown retail restaurants, they thrive on people coming to their establishments. And if people can't park or get frustrated and say, I'm never going back downtown, I'm not going to do it, that's not a good thing. And actually, the people that are coming downtown has increased significantly since 2018, but I want to say 2013. I can get that number exactly. But the people who are coming downtown, especially in the evenings, has increased dramatically. And they're suggesting, one of the theories for that is people are working from home, COVID shutdown. So they're kind of stuck in their house all day long. And by the time it gets to be the evening, they want out. They want to get going. They want to go have and do something fun. And so our parking at night can be absolutely atrocious. But a big revenue builder is definitely something that the city of Fort Collins is needing to talk about and address to maintain and upkeep these assets, making sure that Old Town and Fort Collins continues to remain, feel, and look vibrant. That is kind of it in a nutshell as far as city council goes. There's a preliminary design that kind of came through on the 160 West Mountain Avenue, a retail mixed-use space. So continue cool opportunities, businesses, multi-story buildings in Old Town Fort Collins. And then the hot topic, which we will discuss again probably next week, because it looks like by Friday, Preserve Fort Collins will file their petition, and then they will have 20 days from there to gather enough signatures, which I believe are right around 4,000, to repeal the land use code that was passed last Tuesday. To be determined if that happens, if they get enough signatures. I did go to their Facebook group page, and it did look like there was kind of a dissension amongst the group members saying, hey, City of Fort Collins did great. They tried to come to a compromise. This is a really clean proposal. And if you're just going to crush anything and everything that City Council brings forward to you, I'm not about that. Why are you wanting to go against this? And I think really the big sticking point for the majority of people right now is the allowance of ADUs in residential neighborhoods throughout Fort Collins. So I don't know how you feel about that, but definitely feel free to leave your comments in the sections below. And we'll stay on top of that as we move forward. Let's see here. Happy Halloween. We won't talk to you until next Thursday. Stay safe. This weekend's going to be busy. It's rookie night, as a lot of people call it. Be safe, drive safe, be on the alert. If you're a woman, cover your drinks. Let's just make sure that everyone comes home safe and enjoys the night and enjoys Fort Collins in Northern Colorado. Take care. Bye.